Well, excuse me. Thank you for staying with us. Now, we've been trying to sell your property for a while now, and it's looking like you might have to stay put. It might be time to think about working from within your home. We're joined by Fiona McLaughlin from PrivateSeller.ie and architect Rory O'Reilly, who are going to talk us through your options from reclaiming space within your home to pushing out the boundaries. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Alan.
And a lot of people have decided now that they have to stay put. They may have been thinking, oh, we'll buy a bigger house, but at the moment they say, okay, we'll stay put, and we might have to stay put for the next couple of years. So the thing to do is try and make the space that you have available.
Look at your options.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
A lot of people have no choice. They actually have to stay put because they just can't sell the properties at the moment. So for people that are feeling really tied, you know, they might have growing families, or just the house they've outgrown the size of the house or whatever. There are options that they can look at, and we're going to start with some of the really simple things that don't cost a lot of money and work up from there. So staging and redecorating. Now, it might sound spurious, but really, truly, honestly, I was at home this weekend with my mum down in Ballinasloe, and I went through the kitchen. It's amazing what people accumulate when they're living in a property, and they just don't see
the amount of stuff there. I know.
Absolutely. So you can either, you know, reassign that around to other rooms of the house, or get rid of toys, children's toys and stuff like that. Donate them, you know, but purge your house, and it's amazing how much bigger it will seem. Or redecorate. You know, a painting gives a great return in terms of adding value to your house. And then you can work your way up through adding space with a bay window is very good. If you don't want to go to the whole process of adding a huge extension, bay window, sliding doors, something that opens up the property out into a garden and outdoor space, adds light. It's absolutely fantastic. New kitchens. Now, we're at odds over what price you can get kitchens at, but I mean, unfortunately, there are companies going into receivership at the moment, and you can pick up kitchens very, very cheaply. Yeah, you can get great value. And replanning the kitchen and reorganising the kitchen in that way. So I mean, that is something that you could definitely look at. Break through adjoining rooms. You know, if you have two smaller rooms and you have maybe a formal dining room like a lot of people have that really isn't used that much in this day and age, break through and you can have a fabulous huge open plan family room. And then there's other stuff that you can, we're actually going to come back to this in more detail. Today we're looking at we looked at a ground floor extension, but obviously you can go into attic and increasingly into basement extensions. So we'll come back and look at them in more detail again.
Well, Rory, I mean, if you are going to stay put, and like it's not just not superficial, but like you know, small things like that, and you do sort of say, okay, let's build something. Where do you start?
Well, I suppose a budget would be a good place to start. How much do you want to spend? You know, so it's great that you have an idea what your budget is. But if you get your professional advice in early, your professional, often an architect, will help you guide you on the budget, because you might have no idea how much it is to build a nice garden room. So if you get your professional on early, it'd be a great help.
The video we were looking at just before the break, that beautiful extension that was built on there, what are we talking about for something like that, or maybe something even slightly smaller, because that looked very big?
Yeah, that was the high end, because it's a lot of glass and steel frames, so that was about 90 grand.
Right,
so but you can do it for less, and that was kind of maximise the exempted development of the footprint. You're out, built 40 square metres in your rear garden. So that's, you know, 440 square feet. That was a very large room. And as I said, it was the high end. So that was, you know, but you could do it for a more modest budget. There's no doubt about it. Tailor your cloth to your budget, you know.
Okay, and then, so you make the decision to do that, you're getting professional advice, you're getting somebody like you in, then you have to hire builders. And
so an architect, most professionals, could guide you in the selection of a good builder and talk to your neighbours, and just sensible things. If you see a guy up the road doing good work, have a chat with your neighbour. Did you like that builder? Was he good? Look at their track record. And similar with the architect or any professionals you get on board, what's their track record like? And do you like them?
And what's the story about budgets? Like, if you say to a builder, I have this, and then like the overruns and the delays and the sort of, I mean...
Well, actually, that's one thing I have to say about getting an architect or some project manager on board, is that ideally they should be able to draw up contracts, good contracts that tie the builders to schedules, and in the event of an overrun, have some sort of a system there to deal with that. So that's a way, in terms of getting somebody to project manage, that's a way of getting your money back on it. It's one of the primary reasons.
Because you see these things and they do, like 80% of the time there's an overrun on it. There's more money than that, like the budget has gone through the roof.
Yeah,
And
like
sort of
when you're doing your maths, you should really get
Yeah.
maybe a couple of estimates and then do plus or minus 25% of that. Sometimes they do come in under budget, but more typically they actually go over. So you need to budget for that
And
as well.
Unfortunately, some builders are more cost conscious than others, so
Yeah.
that might help in your selection. But the documentation is very important.
you have to get the agreement in writing.
Yeah,
all
and the amount of drawings, and that everything is tipped and tailed, you know, that you have the
And
best
get
documents.
it in writing, just as Rory is saying that, you know, absolutely.
And have a
get it
strong
wrong.
design team, be it your architect or engineer driving it, that they have a presence for you, because they often act like a counsellor to look after your client. Can be quite a traumatic experience. So get an architect or engineer that you're happy to be working with and work together, you know.
Who can act as a counsellor as well.
No, I mean, and like, keep an eye on the future, because that's what it's for, isn't it? Like
Definitely,
you're
yeah.
basically
Yeah.
adding some value to your property. But Fiona, in the meantime, then you are living in this space and
Yeah.
you are giving yourself the extra
Yeah.
comfort in your home, and that's, you've got to be important to think of that as
Absolutely.
well in the short or mid-term.
The whole reason I'm just showing these figures at the moment is just to give you an idea that just because you put 10 or 20 grand into something doesn't mean that you're adding 40 grand to the value. You might be adding between 75 to 100% of the money that you've invested. But that's good, because that means that the investment is just costing you really maybe 25 cents in the pound, and it is going into the value of your home. So what you're looking at is improving and enhancing the comfort of your home. As you know, I recently did improve the energy rating of my
your
house,
home.
and that's with an eye to the future in terms of getting the property sold, and that will have more of an impact on the bottom line and on house prices. But at the moment we did it for us and to make the house more comfortable. So know exactly why you're doing something when you're doing it and going to spend any
And you're
amount
saying
of
like
money.
the refit of a kitchen, say, would be about 75 to 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, kitchens range from like 1,500 up to whatever you like to spend, you know, and actually Katie would have had one of the top end kitchens and gadgets and all the rest. But kitchens and bathrooms do actually sell properties. So while you might get 75 to 100% of your investment back, it'll shift your property more quickly than if it hasn't been refurbished or isn't looking
And
top
something like
condition.
just even a paint job in the house.
Paint job, painting actually has the highest return of the whole lot. A lick of paint, I mean, you'll absolutely definitely get
brightens
your
up
money
the whole
back,
thing, yeah.
and probably more. Yeah,
But it's a
yeah.
good idea to bring in somebody with a different eye, like, because you see your own house, you don't see the dark colours or the wrong colours. Get a friend and to say, to be honest with you, listen, paint that room, you know, do something.
Because when you're living there, you
forget, you
are
don't
used
see
to
it.
it, and you
Yeah.
don't see it, and you don't see the clutter sometimes, and you don't see the things that are
Absolutely.
wrong.
And people always want to express individuality, but I always say you're better off expressing your individuality in whether it's sculpture or paintings or
Your next
the
home.
type of table that you buy or whatever, rather than through the colour of your paint. Definitely.
So we're going to look at extending up, extending down next week, and we look at that and adding more value to your house then. But for the moment, Fiona and Rory, thank you
Thanks
very
very
much
much,
for
Alan.
joining
Thank you.
us.
Thank you.
Now we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back for the last hour of Ireland AM in a couple of minutes. We'll see you then.